Good morning, folks. Yesterday I mentioned that something really neat had come from Andrea Miniatures. They're out of Spain, and it might divert me from my 1942 South Pacific group build. And indeed it has, at least for a little while. What I received from Andrea Miniatures was a 1/32 scale machine gun team. Now it says WW1 there. Not sure why, because below the folks at Andrea Miniatures correctly write a superb vignette of the German army during the Great War, and is indeed from their Great War series. I think they've got about a half a dozen, maybe more, figures, sets, mini dioramas, and a Fokker triplane, of course, in 1/32 scale. Some of them might be in 1/48 and that weird 1/35 scale. And please, tank builders, don't take offense. We all know that was due to Tamiya back in whenever because of motors, electric motors they had. But that's another story. Anyway, isn't that superb? I don't know if that's some box art. I think it might be an overlay of real pictures. There are real pictures of these magnificent folks. Okay, here's the real thing from whoever some of the studio artists are that paint up models. If only I could do that. I'm going to have to learn how to paint rocks. And I suppose if I wanted to follow some conventions of the really good folks, I'd get little grass or dirt and add it too. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I had to check it out. Yeah, okay. So I started assembly. That might be a little hard to see because I set it on the background of the rather woeful kit instructions. Superb little model, and of course with white metal you got to do a lot of filing and shaping. Let me see if I can pick that up because most of this stuff is not glued in. There we go. So there's the commander, I don't know, captain, Hauptmann, maybe a lieutenant with his team of two. This is early in the war because they're wearing the early style helmets, what that'd be 1914-15. Before the coal scuttle helmets came in. And I guess it's before trenches, or the trenches solidified. So let's say this is 1914. I don't think this team is too worried about anybody shooting back at them right now, because that commander is standing pretty boldly up. But it does make for a interesting little mini diorama. The base is 3 pieces of resin that pretty much fit together, and 2 edges of a brick wall, and then the ground and dirt. Everything else is in white metal. You can see blue tack down there because eventually he will be attached in there with CA glue, but that's not going to happen. Obviously, I'm going to remove the figures and paint them individually, as well as the Maxim gun. And that's the only thing that's left to assemble. I still have to assemble the Maxim gun, probably about another 10 white metal pieces, plus the ammo belt, which was really tricky to cut away from the brace, but I got it. And that will run through the right-hand side of the machine gun down, and you can see the loader there poised to hold it. There's a water cooling tank there, and there's a hose. It's a white metal hose, but it'll bend. That will fit in to the side of the cooling jacket around the barrel of the Maxim gun. So these sculpts are really well done. You do get that high quality with Andrea. You do have to fiddle a bit more with the white metal, but I think it's worth it. And I think this will give me many, many days of painting pleasure. Maybe I'll have to outsource the base. That's light though, just resin, to somebody who actually knows how to paint rocks and dirt. Maybe it's easier than I'm making it out to be. Here's the black and white photo. That's just a replica. The, the instructions for assembly are pretty basic. It's like, well, you figure it out yourself. And some of the parts are actually mislabeled. I don't care. It's a great kit. Now, one other thing that came, I'm really happy about, AK Miniatures, no, not AK Miniatures, AK Interactive. Another great paint company from Spain. I bought this kit set. There are 18 colors in here, ranging from olive drab to some flesh colors and beige. Pretty much anything. It says World War II and modern US colors. Well, I think you could overlap a lot with other militaries and armies. And I really do like AK paint. I've used both the acrylics a little bit and also their oil brand. And the lovely folks, besides sending me jelly beans, the last two orders, they've sent me these little gifts. I think it's a new line, and it's called Dense Acrylic Color. And now I have a tube of copper and a tube of Payne's Gray. I don't know who Payne was. I have not tried them out. I'm going to guess, given that they're dense acrylic, they're going to act maybe a little bit like oil paints, but I'll have to find out. Anyway, it's always nice to get a few freebies, although one really shouldn't look at it that way. I suppose when you spend enough with the company, they'll throw in a couple samples. So thank you, AK Interactive. Thank you, Andrea Miniatures. And by the way, just as a side note, I have another order coming from Andrea Miniatures, and there was a little screw up about communication. And for yesterday, in a panic, I thought that the box had been delivered somewhere else in the greater Portland area. It seemed to indicate that something had gone wrong. I fired off an email this morning to Spain, got an answer within about 15 minutes from the director of commercial indicating that one of the two items I had ordered was on backlog, and the whole thing would be mailed as soon as that came in. And no, indeed, nothing was lost because the two items had not yet been sent. So I was very pleased with the customer service. Okay. Well, the Pacific group build is going to go on hold for a little while because I'd rather paint these guys and this set than the Wildcat. That's just the way it goes. But the Wildcat will get done. And I've run out of figures to do for the Wildcat anyway. Pretty cool. Great kit. They aren't cheap, but if you're into painting historical figures, they've got a superb range, and it's not just Great War. They've got stuff from colonial campaigns, 19th century, probably 18th century. I forget the whole range. Okay, thanks for watching, folks. Machine gun team, Maxim machine gun team, Great War. Bye for now.